The stars had never looked so close. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Taiguk Dawn, watching the massive space station grow larger in the viewport. After 3 months of travel, humanity's first diplomatic ship had finally reached the Velen Consortium's neutral meeting point. His heart pounded with excitement and nervousness. "We're being hailed," Jisoo said from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the console. "They're sending docking coordinates." Minho straightened his uniform. Behind him, First Officer Yuna smiled. They had practiced this moment hundreds of times back on Earth. Humanity had dreamed of this day. Since ancient times, the day they would meet other intelligent life and join the community of civilized worlds. "Send our acknowledgement," Minho said. "Tell them we're honored to be here." The docking procedure took 20 minutes. The Taiguk Dawn settled into its berth with a soft clang that echoed through the hall. Minho assembled his team in the airlock. Besides Yuna, he brought Taiyang, their xenobiologist, and 2 security officers, Hyun and Seojin. They wore their best uniforms, pressed and clean. Each carried a small gift from Earth, a custom for first meetings, according to the limited information the consortium had shared. "Remember," Minho said, "we represent all of humanity today. Stay calm, be respectful, and follow my lead." The airlock opened. The air that rushed in was different, cooler, with a strange metallic taste. The gravity felt slightly lighter. Minho took the first step onto alien ground, and his team followed. The station's interior was beautiful. Curved walls glowed with soft light that shifted colors slowly. Strange symbols floated in the air, probably directions or warnings in languages Minho couldn't read. Other beings moved through the corridors. Tall ones, short ones, some that floated, some that crawled. None of them were human. A guide waited for them, a small floating sphere that pulsed with blue light. It spoke in perfect English through some kind of translator. "Welcome, humans. Please follow me to the diplomatic hall. Ambassador Lara is waiting." They walked through wide corridors. Other aliens stopped to stare at them. Minho tried to smile and nod, but many of the beings quickly moved away. He noticed some of them had what looked like fear in their eyes, though with alien faces it was hard to tell. "Is it just me?" Hyun whispered. "Or are they avoiding us?" "Maybe they're just curious," Yuna said, but her voice sounded uncertain. The diplomatic hall was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. In the center stood Ambassador Lyra. She was beautiful in an alien way, tall and graceful, with skin that glowed like pearls. She had 6 thin arms and a face with 3 eyes arranged in a triangle. Delicate patterns of light moved across her skin. Minho stepped forward, his hand extended in greeting. He had barely taken 3 steps when everything changed. Lyra's skin flashed bright red. All 3 of her eyes fixed on Minho, and the patterns on her skin turned chaotic. She made a sound, a high-pitched whistle that the translator didn't even try to convert. Then she stumbled backward, her 6 arms moving frantically. "Ambassador?" Minho stopped, confused. "I'm Captain Minho of Earth. We've come to—" "Stay back." Lyra's voice came through the translator, sharp and panicked. "Don't come closer." 2 guards appeared from nowhere, massive armored beings that positioned themselves between the humans and Lara. Energy shields hummed to life, creating a barrier of crackling light. Yuna stepped beside Minho. "Ambassador Lyra, we mean no harm. We've traveled very far to meet you in peace." Lyra's skin was still flashing red. Her breathing, or whatever she did to breathe, came fast and shallow. She wouldn't look directly at them anymore. I need distance. I cannot. The protocols didn't prepare me for this." "For what?" Taiyang asked. "What did we do wrong?" "You exist," Lyra said, and her voice trembled. "You're really human." From Earth. I hoped the intelligence was wrong. Minho felt ice in his stomach. I don't understand. We sent our information ahead. You knew we were coming. You agreed to this meeting. Knowing and seeing are different things. Lyra moved further back. I cannot do this. Not in person. The risk is too great. What risk? Minho spread his hands, showing he had no weapons. We're scientists, diplomats. We came to learn, to share, to be friends with the galaxy. Lyra laughed, but it sounded wrong, like a cry of pain. Friends. You don't know. You really don't know what you are. A holographic projector activated near the wall. Lyra's image appeared there, 10 meters away from where her real body stood. I will speak through this, the hologram said. I cannot be near you. Forgive me, but my instincts are too strong. Minho looked at his team. They all seemed as confused as he felt. Ambassador, please help us understand. What have we done to frighten you? The hologram flickered. You've done nothing. That's what makes this so terrible. You're innocent. You don't know your own history, your own nature. The consortium debated for months whether to allow this contact. Many voted to refuse. Some wanted to destroy your ship before you could arrive. Destroy us? Siojan's hand moved toward his weapon, but Minho grabbed his arm. Why would anyone want to destroy us? Minho asked. We've never met you before. We've never hurt anyone out here. Not yet, Lyra said quietly. But you will. It's what your kind does. It's what you're made for? Our kind? Yuna stepped forward. You mean humans? I mean Deathworlders, Lyra said. Apex predators from a hell planet. Do you even understand what Earth is? What it takes to survive there? Your world is a nightmare of gravity, radiation, temperature extremes, and predators. Nothing that lives there should be able to develop civilization. But you did. You climbed to the top of your world's food chain and then reached for the stars. Tai Yang shook his head. Earth is our home. It's just normal to us. Normal. Lyra's hologram made a gesture that might have been disbelief. Your normal would kill most sapient species within hours. The air you breathe is toxic to many. The gravity you walk in would crush others. The diseases you carry in your bodies would be plagues to us. And yet you thrive. You multiply. You spread. Minho felt anger rising in his chest. We're not monsters. We're people. We have art, music, philosophy, love. So did the others, Lyra interrupted. So did all the Deathworld species that came before you. They started with good intentions, too. They always do. What others? Minho demanded. What are you talking about? But Lyra was already moving toward the exit, her real body protected by her guards. This meeting is over. I've done my duty. I've confirmed War. The consortium will decide what happens next. Wait. Minho called out. You can't just leave us like this. We came in peace. We just want to understand. Lyra paused at the doorway. When she spoke again, her voice was filled with something that sounded like pity. That's what makes this tragedy. You truly don't know. You came here thinking you would join a community of equals. But there are no equals to humanity. There are only those who submit and those who die. History proves this. Your own history proves this. That's not fair, Yuna said. You're judging us for things we haven't done. I'm judging you for things your kind always does, Lyra replied. I hope the rumors were wrong. I hoped Earth's location had been miscalculated, that you or some other species, that the universe would be kinder. But hope changes nothing. You are what you are, and the galaxy will have to decide whether to welcome its own destruction or stop it before it spreads. The hologram vanished. Lyra disappeared through the doorway with her guards. The humans stood alone in the vast diplomatic hall, surrounded by silence. Minho felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. They had come expecting friendship and found fear instead. They had offered peace and been treated like weapons. Captain? Hyen's voice was quiet. What do we do now? Minho looked at his team. He saw confusion, hurt, and growing anger in their faces. We go back to the ship, he said. We review everything that happened. And we figure out what the hell she was talking about. As they walked back through the station's corridors, Minho couldn't shake Lyra's final words from his mind. You don't know what you are, she had said. But what could that possibly mean? He was about to find out, and the answer would shake everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the universe. 3 weeks had passed since the disaster with Ambassador Lyra, and Minho still couldn't sleep properly. He sat in his quarters, staring at reports that made no sense. The Taiguk Dawn had visited 3 more species since then, and each meeting had gone worse than the last. Captain, we're approaching the Nether system. Jisu's voice came through the speaker. They've confirmed our landing clearance. Minho rubbed his tired eyes. I'll be right there. He found Yuna already on the bridge, looking at the planet below. It was beautiful crystalline structures covered the surface, reflecting sunlight in rainbow colors. The Nether were a silicon-based species, living beings made of crystal and light. Their messages had been polite, even welcoming. Surely this time would be different. The landing went smoothly. A Nether delegation met them at the spaceport, their crystalline bodies chiming softly as they moved. Their leader, a being named Vel, communicated through pulses of light that the translator converted to speech. Welcome, humans of Earth, Vel said. We have prepared a research facility for our discussions. Please follow us. The facility was underground, carved from pure crystal. Everything gleamed and sparkled. But as they walked deeper, Minho noticed something odd. Thick walls separated them from their hosts. The Nether stayed on the other side of transparent barriers. Vel, Yuna called out, is there a problem with our environmental requirements? We can adjust if needed. The Nether's light pulsed in a pattern the translator struggled with before settling on words. No, your environment is acceptable. It's you that concerns us. There it was again. That same fear. What do you mean? Minho asked, though his heart already knew the answer. Vel moved closer to the barrier, but wouldn't cross it. We must be honest with you, though it may damage relations. When your ship first entered our system, our scientists analyzed your biological data. The results were ... disturbing. Tai Yang stepped forward. Our biology? We shared our medical information openly. There's nothing dangerous about us. Everything is dangerous about you, Vel said, and their light dimmed. Your bodies are built for survival in conditions that would destroy most known life. You carry bacteria and viruses that we cannot even classify. Your strength in your home gravity suggests violence as a primary evolutionary pressure. Your brain chemistry shows markers for aggression that dwarf peaceful species. That's not fair, Hyon said. You're looking at us like we're weapons. Are you not? Vel's light flickered. Your own history shows thousands of years of warfare. You've built weapons that can destroy your entire world multiple times over. You've hunted hundreds of species on your planet to extinction. And now you come to the stars, and you wonder why we're afraid? Minho felt his anger rising, but forced it down. We've also built libraries, hospitals, and schools. We've created art and music. We've worked to save endangered species. Why do you only see our violence? Because violence is what matters when survival is at stake, Vel said. You may have culture, but culture doesn't stop conquest. The previous Deathworld species had culture too. They wrote poetry while they destroyed civilizations. There's that word again, Una said. Death world. Lyra used it too. What does it mean? Vel's light pulsed rapidly, a sign of what might have been stress. It's a classification. Worlds are rated by their hostility to life. Earth is Category 12, the highest possible rating. Planets like yours produce species designed for one thing surviving impossible conditions. That means you're stronger, faster, more resilient, and more aggressive than species from safer worlds. We can't help where we evolved, Minnow said. No, Vel agreed. But the galaxy can't help being afraid of what that evolution created. The meeting continued for another hour, but nothing changed. The Nether stayed behind their barriers. They answered questions, but refused any physical contact. When the humans left, Vel's final message was an apology. I wish we could be braver, Vel said. But fear is older than logic. The next visit was to the Simmons, an aquatic species living in the oceans of a water world. They didn't even let the humans land. Instead, they sent messages through communication buoys. We have studied your species extensively, the Simmons speaker said. We believe peaceful coexistence is impossible. Please leave our system. Give us a chance, Minnow pleaded. One conversation? That's all we ask. You don't understand, the Simon replied. We've run the calculations. Your population growth rate, your resource consumption, your territorial expansion patterns, they all point to the same conclusion. Within 200 years of establishing space colonies, your species will need more resources than peaceful trade can provide. You'll take what you need by force. It's not a choice. It's mathematics. You're predicting our future based on math? Una sounded incredulous. We're predicting your future based on the history of every Deathworld species that came before you, the Simmons said. The pattern never changes. It starts with exploration. Then comes trade. Then colonies. Then expansion. Then conflict. Then domination or extinction. We've seen it 6 times before. We won't wait around for the 7th. The communication cut off. The Simmons wouldn't respond to any further messages. The last visit was to the Krell Collective, an insectoid species known for their hive mind and efficiency. Minho had hoped their logical nature would make them less fearful. He was wrong. The Krell refused to allow the Taigok Dawn within orbit of their colony. Instead, they sent a fleet of automated defense platforms to escort the human ship away. You will not approach Krell space. The collective mind spoke as one voice. You are classified as an existential threat. We haven't threatened anyone. Minho shouted at the communication screen. Your existence is the threat, the Krell replied. We have detected weapons aboard your vessel. You claim they are for defense, but all weapons are for killing. Your species has killed billions of your own kind throughout your history. What will you do to us when we become inconvenient? We would never, Una started. You would, the Krell interrupted. Not now, perhaps. Not while you're weak and alone. But when you're strong, when you have colonies and fleets and power, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember that we rejected you. And you'll come back with anger in your hearts and weapons in your hands. This is what Deathworlders do. This is what you are. The Krell fleet began powering up weapons. The message was clear leave or die. INHO ordered retreat. As the Taigok Dawn jumped away, he sat in his chair feeling hollow inside. That night, Jisoo came to his quarters with news. Captain, I've been digging through the Galactic database. Something's wrong. There are references to Earth, but most of the files are corrupted or deleted. Someone's been scrubbing information. Show me, Minho said. Jisoo pulled up fragments of data on his screen. References to Terra and Sol 3 appeared in ancient historical records, but the details were gone. He saw mentions of Deathworld protocols, and containment procedures, but couldn't access the full documents. "There's more," Jisoo said. "I found a pattern. Every 50,000 years, give or take, there's a major disruption in galactic civilization. Wars, collapses, dark ages. And each time, right before the disruption, there's a reference to a new species from a Category 12 world. You think that's connected to us?" Minho asked. "I think we're not the first humans to reach space," Jisoo said quietly. "And I think something terrible happened with the previous ones." Minho looked at the star maps on his screen. Somewhere out there were answers. Somewhere in the galaxy was the truth about humanity's past and why the entire civilized universe feared them. "Keep digging," he told Jisoo. "Find everything you can. I want to know what we're really dealing with." As Jisoo left, Yuna entered. She looked as tired as Minho felt. "The crew is getting restless," she said. "Some of them are angry. They feel like we're being judged for crimes we didn't commit. Others are scared. They're wondering if maybe the aliens are right to fear us." "What do you think?" Minho asked. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. "I think we need answers. Real answers, not fragments and rumors. Because right now, we're flying blind, and the whole galaxy treats us like we're monsters." "We're not monsters," Minho said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Aren't we?" Yuna looked at him with sad eyes. "Think about it, Minho. Every species we've met has the same reaction. They all fear us. They all expect us to conquer and kill. What if they know something we don't? What if they can see something in us that we can't see in ourselves?" Minho didn't have an answer. The question haunted him as Yuna left, and he sat alone in the darkness. What if she was right? What if humanity really was a species of monsters who just didn't know it yet? His console beeped with an incoming message. It was encrypted, routed through a dozen relay points to hide its origin. Minho opened it cautiously. The message was brief. "If you want the truth about what you are, come to these coordinates. Come alone. Come quickly. The consortium is watching you, and they're deciding your fate right now." The message included navigation data for a location in the outer veil, far from any settled system. It could be a trap. It probably was a trap, but it was also the first real lead they had. Minho stared at the coordinates, knowing that whatever he found there would change everything. The outer veil was a region of space where stars died slowly. Old red giants burned their last fuel, casting dim light across abandoned systems. The archive station floated here like a forgotten tomb, its ancient hull scarred by millions of years of cosmic radiation. Minho had taken only a small team, Yuna and Taiyang. The rest of the crew waited aboard the Taiguk Dawn at a safe distance. If this was a trap, at least the ship would survive to warn Earth. "I'm reading minimal power signatures," Taiyang said, scanning the station. "Life support is active in one section only. One life form detected." "Just one?" Yuna checked her own sensors. "This station is huge. It could hold thousands." "Maybe it used to," Minho said. He guided their shuttle toward the docking bay. "Let's find out what's waiting for us." The docking clamps engaged with a groan of old metal. The airlock cycled slowly, as if the station systems were struggling to remember their purpose. When the door finally opened, stale air rushed out, carrying the smell of age and dust. They walked through corridors lined with data cores, millions of them, stretching into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as they passed, creating pools of pale blue light. "This is an archive," Taiyang whispered. "A library. Look at all this data storage. Who builds a library in the middle of nowhere?" Yuna asked. "Someone who wants to preserve knowledge," a voice said from ahead. "Or someone who wants to hide it." They rounded a corner and found him. The being was ancient, beyond anything Minho had imagined. His body was thin and fragile, covered in what looked like robes made of light. His species had 6 limbs and a face that reminded Minho of an owl-large eyes, wise and sad. "I am Keeper Orin," the being said. "I am the last of the archivists. I have been waiting for you." "You sent the message," Minho said. "I did." Orin moved slowly, his limbs shaking with effort. "I am dying. My species is gone. Before I join them, I must fulfill my final duty to tell you the truth that the consortium has hidden." "Why hide the truth?" Yuna asked. "Fear," Orin said simply. "Fear makes people do terrible things. The consortium believes that ignorance will protect you, that if you don't know what you are, you might not become what you're destined to be. But I've studied history for longer than your species has existed. Ignorance never protects anyone. It only delays the inevitable." Orin led them deeper into the archive, to a chamber filled with holographic displays. With a gesture, he activated them. Images filled the air-star systems, species, civilizations rising and falling. "Let me tell you about the convergence," Orin said. "Every 50,000 years, approximately, a new species emerges from a Category 12 death world. These species are rare perhaps. 1 in 10 billion worlds produces them. But when they do appear, they change everything." The holograms showed 6 different species. Each looked different, but all had something in common: sharp eyes, strong bodies, the look of predators. "These are the previous 6, Orin continued. "The Varn, the Skrell, the Mortian, the Quellic, the Tarn, and the Havris. All Deathworlders. All apex predators from Hell planets. All species that reached for the stars. What happened to them?" Minho asked, though he was afraid he already knew. "Watch," Orin said. The holograms showed a pattern. Each species started the same way: exploration, first contact, attempts at diplomacy. And each time, the galaxy's peaceful species reacted with fear. Sometimes they tried to quarantine the Deathworlders. Sometimes they tried to control them. Sometimes they tried to destroy them. And every single time, the Deathworld species fought back. "The Varn Imperium lasted 8,000 years, Orin narrated. They conquered half the galaxy before internal conflicts destroyed them. The Skrell Dominion was more efficient. They enslaved other species and forced them to serve. The Mortian didn't conquer. They simply expanded until there was no room left for anyone else. The galaxy became theirs by default." Minho watched civilizations burn. He saw species driven to extinction. He saw worlds turn to ash. "The Quellic tried peaceful coexistence," Orin continued. "They truly wanted to live alongside other species. But the galaxy wouldn't let them. Every trade agreement came with restrictions. Every colony was monitored. Every ship was tracked. The Quellic grew tired of being treated like criminals for crimes they hadn't committed. So they became what everyone feared: conquerors." "This is a nightmare," Yuna whispered. "This is history," Orin corrected. "The Tarn were destroyed, the only Deathworld species to be successfully eliminated. The galaxy united against them and bombed their homeworld until nothing lived. But the cost was terrible. The war lasted 300 years and killed trillions. The holograms showed fleets of thousands of ships, all focused on one planet. Minho watched Earth's sister die. The Havris are still out there, Orin said. They fled to the edge of the galaxy 2 million years ago. They live in isolation, refusing all contact. Some say they chose exile to protect the galaxy from themselves. Others say they're building their strength for one final conquest." The holograms faded. Orin looked at the 3 humans with his large, sad eyes. "And now comes humanity," he said. "The 7th Deathworld species. The pattern repeats." "No," Minho said. "We're different. We can be different. Can you?" Orin moved to another display. Let me show you Earth's history. The hologram showed humanity's past. Minho saw wars, so many wars. He saw empires rise and fall. He saw weapons of terrible power used against other humans. He saw slavery, genocide, conquest, and destruction. Every species has conflict, Taiyang protested. That doesn't make us monsters. True, Orin agreed. But look at the scale and frequency. Humans have been fighting each other constantly for your entire recorded history. You've weaponized everything: diseases, atoms, information, even space itself. And this is just what you've done to each other. What will you do when the other is truly alien? We've also made peace, Yuna argued. We've built international organizations. We've banned weapons. We've learned from our mistakes. Have you? Orin brought up recent data. Your planet still has thousands of nuclear weapons. You still have armies and borders and conflicts. You came to space with weapons on your ship, even though you claim to come in peace. Can you honestly tell me that humanity has transcended its violent nature? Minho wanted to argue, but the evidence was there in the hologram. Humans had come far, but they hadn't come far enough. Why are you telling us this? Minho asked. If you believe we're doomed to follow the pattern, why not just let it happen? Because I'm a librarian, Orin said. My purpose is to preserve and share knowledge. And because I've spent my last years studying one question, why? Why does the pattern repeat? What makes Deathworld species turn to conquest? Did you find an answer? Yuna asked. I found several factors, Orin said. First, Deathworlders are inherently stronger and more resilient than peaceful species. You don't mean to intimidate, but your mere presence is threatening. Second, you reproduce faster and need more resources. Your drive to expand is biological. Third, you're adapted for competition and conflict. Peace doesn't come naturally to you. That's just biology, Taiyang said. We can overcome biology with culture and choice. Can you? Orin asked. History suggests otherwise. But there's a fourth factor, and this is the one that matters most. He brought up a new display, showing the early contacts between Deathworlders and the galaxy. Every Deathworld species was met with fear and rejection, Orin explained. The galaxy's response created a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you treat someone like a monster, they eventually become one. The peaceful species pushed the Deathworlders into defensive positions, which led to aggressive responses, which confirmed the fears, which led to more restrictions, which led to more aggression. The cycle feeds itself. Minho felt a chill run through him. So the galaxy creates the very thing it fears. Exactly, Orin said. And now the consortium faces the same choice with humanity. Do they welcome you and risk another Varn Imperium? Do they try to control you and risk another Quellic rebellion? Do they attempt to destroy you and risk another Tarn war? Or do they quarantine you and hope you stay isolated forever? What should they do? Yuna asked. I don't know, Orin admitted. I've studied this question for centuries, and I still don't have an answer. But I know what you should do. What? Minho stepped closer. Learn your history, Orin said. Understand what you are not to be ashamed, but to be aware. You're a species of survivors from a world that tried to kill you every day. That made you strong, but it also made you dangerous. You carry the potential for both great good and great evil. The question is, which will you choose? We choose good, Minho said immediately. Do you? Orin looked at him intently. What if choosing good means accepting restrictions on your freedom? What if it means limiting your expansion, your growth, your power? What if it means watching other species thrive while you remain small? Can humanity accept that? Minho didn't answer. He didn't know if he could answer. Here, Orin said, transferring data to Tai Yang's device. I'm giving you everything. All the records of the previous Deathworld species. All the analyses of why they failed. All the mistakes they made. Perhaps you can learn from them. Perhaps you can break the pattern. You think we can? Yuna asked. Oren's expression was unreadable. I think you're sapient beings with the power of choice. But choice is hard when biology and history push you in one direction. The previous 6 all believed they could be different. They all failed. But maybe the 7th time will be different. Maybe. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Oren's expression turned sad. The consortium has found you, he said. They've been tracking your ship. You must go now. Come with us, Minho offered. No, Oren said. I'm too old, and my time is done. Besides, my presence would complicate things. The consortium tolerates me because I'm harmless and dying. But if I sided with humanity, they'd see it as a threat. Thank you, Minho said. For the truth. Don't thank me yet, Oren replied. The truth is a burden. Now you must carry it and decide what to do with it. As they ran back to their shuttle, Minho's mind raced. Everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the universe had been wrong. They weren't explorers joining a community. They were the latest in a line of species that had brought chaos and destruction to the galaxy. The shuttle launched just as consortium ships appeared in the system. They fled back to the Taeguk Dawn and jumped away before being caught. Galactic history. What do we do with the Deathworlders? And this time, humanity would have to choose its own fate. The silence on the bridge was heavy. Minho sat in his captain's chair, staring at nothing. 3 days had passed since their escape from the archive station, and he still hadn't called a crew meeting. He didn't know what to tell them. Captain, Yuna said gently, we can't hide this forever. The crew knows something happened. Rumors are spreading. Minho nodded slowly. She was right. The data from Oren sat in the ship's computers like a bomb waiting to explode. Every officer had access to it, but no one had opened the files yet. They were afraid of what they'd find. Call everyone to the main hall, Minho said finally. It's time they knew the truth. An hour later, the entire crew of the Taeguk Dawn assembled. 73 people who had left Earth with dreams of exploration and friendship. They looked at Minho with expectant faces, still hoping for good news. He crushed that hope in the next 10 minutes. Minho showed them everything. The holographic records played for all to see 6 civilizations of Deathworld species that had come before humanity. He showed them the wars, the conquests, the genocides. He showed them Earth's own bloody history. And he showed them the pattern that every single Deathworld species had followed. This is what we are, Minho said when the holograms faded. This is what the galaxy fears when they look at us. Not what we've done, but what we will inevitably do. The reactions came fast and loud. That's not fair. Someone shouted, we haven't done anything wrong. We're not them. Another voice cried, we're different. But Seo Jun, the weapons officer, stood up with a different expression on his face. Pride. Maybe we should be proud of what we are. We're from Earth. We're survivors. We're apex predators. If the galaxy fears us, maybe that's their problem, not ours. Others nodded in agreement. Minho saw the dangerous gleam in their eyes, the same gleam that had probably been in the eyes of the Varn, the Skrell, all the others. No. Dayun, the medical officer, stood up. Her voice shook. Don't you understand what this means? We're looking at our future, and it's filled with death. Every one of those species thought they could control it. Every one of them thought they were different. And every one of them became monsters. We're already monsters, Jisoo said quietly. Look at our history. Look at what we've done to each other. The galaxy isn't wrong about us. They're just smart enough to see what we refuse to see in ourselves. The crew erupted into arguments. Some defended humanity's honor. Others argued for change. A few sat in stunned silence, processing the weight of it all. Yuna stood beside Minho. You need to say something. They're falling apart. But what could he say? Minho had spent 3 days thinking about this, and he still didn't have answers. Every argument had a counter-argument. Every solution had a problem. Enough! Tai Yang's voice cut through the noise. Everyone turned to look at the xenobiologist. This arguing is pointless. We need to think clearly. The question isn't whether we're dangerous. Obviously we are. The question is what we do about it. What can we do? Hyan asked. Change our DNA? Rewrite evolution? We can choose, Tai Yang said. That's what separates us from animals. We can know what we are and choose to be something different. Can we, though? Jisoo pulled up data on her tablet. I've been analyzing the patterns. Biology isn't just about physical traits. Our psychology, our social structures, our decision-making, it's all influenced by evolution. We're wired for competition, for territorial expansion, for in-group loyalty and out-group hostility. Those aren't choices. Those are instincts. Instincts can be controlled, Dayun argued. Humans have controlled their instincts before. We've built civilizations on controlling our violent impulses. Have we? Siajan challenged. Or have we just redirected those impulses? We stopped tribal warfare and started national warfare. We stopped killing with spears and started killing with missiles. The violence never stopped. It just got more organized. The argument continued, growing more heated. Minho watched his crew tear themselves apart over the question of their own nature. He saw friendships straining, saw people he trusted looking at each other with suspicion. This was what the knowledge did. It poisoned everything. Finally, Minho stood up. We take a vote. The crew fell silent. We're a democratic ship, Minho continued. We make major decisions together. This is the biggest decision we'll ever make. So we vote. Do we return to Earth and recommend isolation accepting quarantine to protect the galaxy from ourselves? Or do we stay and try to prove that humanity can break the pattern? There's a third option, Siajun said. We reject the whole premise. We refuse to be judged by what other species did. We claim our right to exist and expand like any other species. That's the path to war, Yuna said. That's exactly what the previous species did. That's how the pattern starts. Then maybe the pattern is inevitable, Siajun shot back. Maybe we're fooling ourselves thinking we can be different. Minho raised his hand for silence. 3 options, then. We vote between 3 choices: isolation, integration, or independence. Take 1 hour to think. Then we decide humanity's future. The crew dispersed to think. Minho found himself alone in his quarters, staring at Earth's image on his screen. Humanity's homeworld looked so beautiful, from space blue and green and white, peaceful and perfect. But he knew the truth now. That beautiful world was a forge that had created a dangerous species. Yuna entered without knocking. She sat beside him, both of them looking at Earth. What are you going to vote? She asked. I don't know, Minho admitted. Every choice seems wrong. Isolation feels like giving up. Integration might be lying to ourselves. Independence might be doom. What does your gut tell you? Minho thought about it. His gut told him to fight. His gut told him that humans had every right to explore the stars, that they shouldn't be punished for crimes they hadn't committed. But was that wisdom speaking? Or was that just his Deathworlder instincts pushing him toward conflict? My gut is part of the problem, he said. It was shaped by the same evolution that makes the galaxy fear us. Before Yuna could respond, alarms blared. They ran to the bridge. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, Jisoo reported. Consortium fleet. 12 vessels representing 9 different species. The main screen showed the fleet, a mix of designs from across the galaxy, all armed, all pointing weapons at the Taiguk Dawn. "We're being hailed," Jisoo said. A face appeared on screen, Ambassador Lyra. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her stood representatives from all the major consortium species. "Captain Minho," Lyra said, her voice formal and cold. "You have been discovered accessing restricted historical archives. You now know what you are, and what your kind has done throughout history. The Consortium Council has convened to address the human situation." "The human situation?" Minho repeated bitterly. "Is that what we are? A situation to be managed?" "You're a threat to galactic peace," a crystalline voice said. Vel, the nether scientist. "Your species follows a pattern. Every Deathworld species follows the same pattern. We cannot allow history to repeat." "We haven't done anything," Yuna protested. "Not yet," a Krell voice buzzed. "But you will. Biology is destiny. You cannot fight what you are." Lyra continued. "The Consortium has debated for weeks since your first contact. We have now reached a decision. You have 2 choices." The screen split, showing 2 scenarios. "Option 1, Lyra said. You return to Earth and accept permanent quarantine. We will establish orbital platforms around your system. No human ship will be allowed to leave. In exchange, we will provide technology to help you build a comfortable civilization within your home system. You will have everything you need except freedom." The image showed Earth surrounded by alien weapon platforms, a prison for an entire species. "Option 2, Lyra continued. You accept Consortium oversight. Every human colony will have alien observers. Every human ship will carry monitoring systems. Every human government will answer to a Consortium Council. You will be allowed to expand, but never to the point where you become a threat. In exchange, you gain access to galactic trade and technology." The second image showed humans living under constant supervision, every move watched and judged. "What if we refuse both options?" Minho asked, though he knew the answer. "Then we implement option 3, Lyra said, and her voice was sad. "Complete sterilization of your species. We destroy your ships and bomb your homeworld until humanity is extinct. Like we did to the Tarn." The threat hung in the air. Minho looked at his crew. He saw anger, fear, and despair on their faces. "You have 48 hours to decide," Lyra said. "Choose wisely, Captain. Your choice determines whether humanity has a future at all." The transmission ended. The Consortium fleet maintained position, weapons ready. Minho sat heavily in his chair. The vote he had planned seemed pointless now. The choice had been made for them by a galaxy that feared what humans might become. "Captain?" Yuna's voice was quiet. "What do we do?" Minho looked at his crew, at the Consortium fleet, at the impossible choice before them. Somewhere back on Earth, billions of humans lived their lives, unaware that their entire future hung in the balance. And somewhere in his mind, Minho heard Orin's question echoing. What if choosing good means accepting restrictions on your freedom? Can humanity accept that? Now they would have to find out. "Assemble the senior officers," Minho said. "We have 48 hours to save our species. Let's not waste them." But as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that no matter what they chose, humanity had already lost. The galaxy had decided their fate before they ever left Earth. They were guilty of crimes they had yet to commit, sentenced for murders that hadn't happened, condemned for being what evolution had made them. And the worst part was, Minho couldn't honestly say the galaxy was wrong. Minho hadn't slept in 36 hours. His quarters were filled with holographic displays, showing the histories of the 6 previous Death World species. He studied them obsessively, searching for the moment when each had made their fatal choice. The Varn had chosen pride. When offered oversight, they had rejected it as an insult. War followed within a decade. The Skrull had accepted restrictions at first, then grown resentful. Their rebellion came slowly, like water eroding stone, until suddenly the dam broke and violence flooded the galaxy. The Quellic had tried genuine cooperation, but the constant suspicion wore them down. Eventually, they decided if they were going to be treated as conquerors, they might as well become conquerors. Each species had a reason. Each had a justification. And each had followed the same path to the same dark end. "You need to rest," Una said from the doorway. "Can't," Minho muttered. "There has to be an answer here. Some pattern they all missed." "Maybe the pattern is the answer," Una said. "Maybe there is no way to break it." Minho looked at her. "You think we should accept quarantine? Lock ourselves away forever? I think 48 hours isn't enough time to solve a problem that's existed for millions of years." Una sat down beside him. "The senior officers are arguing in circles. Half want to accept oversight, half want to reject it and face the consequences. We're running out of time." Minho pulled up a new Display Earth's history, but filtered differently. Not wars and conquests, but something else. "Look at this," he said. The hologram showed moments of cooperation. The formation of the United Nations. International agreements on climate change. The abolition of slavery. Treaties between former enemies. "Humans can cooperate," Minho said. "We can overcome our instincts when we choose to." "Can we, though?" Una zoomed in on the timeline. Every one of those achievements was fragile. The UN has been ignored dozens of times. Climate agreements were broken. Slavery still exists in hidden forms. The treaties held until they didn't. We try, Minho, but we keep failing. "But we keep trying," Minho insisted. "That has to count for something." A message came through Yang requesting a meeting. Minho and Una went to the science lab. Taeyang had filled every screen with biological data. "I've been analyzing what makes Death Worlders different," he explained. "The consortium is right. Our biology does push us towards certain behaviors. But they're wrong about one thing." "What?" Minho asked. "They think biology is destiny, but it's not. It's probability." Taeyang brought up complex charts. "Yes, humans are more aggressive than most species. Yes, we're territorial and competitive. But those traits exist on a spectrum. Not every human is equally aggressive. Not every culture is equally violent. We have variations, outliers, exceptions. So?" Una asked. "So we can select for the better parts of our nature," Taeyang said. "We can build systems that encourage cooperation and discourage aggression. We can teach our children different values. We can't change our biology, but we can change how we express it." "The previous species tried that," Minho said. "It didn't work. Did they really try?" Taeyang challenged. "Look at the records. Each species made superficial changes while keeping their core power structures intact. The Varn still glorified warriors. The Skrulls still rewarded dominance. They changed their rhetoric, but not their reality." Minho felt something stirring, not quite hope, but possibility. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we offer the consortium something no Death World species has ever offered before," Taeyang said. "Genuine transformation. Not just accepting their oversight, but inviting them to help us change." "They'll never believe us," Una said. "Not words, no," Taeyang agreed. "But actions might convince them." An idea was forming in Minho's mind, dangerous and radical. He looked at the time, 38 hours left. "Get me Ambassador Lyra," he said. "I want to propose something." Lyra appeared on screen 20 minutes later, still surrounded by consortium representatives. "Captain Minho," she said, "have you reached a decision?" "No," Minho said, "but I have a question. What was the biggest mistake the previous Deathworld species made?" Lyra's skin flickered with surprised colors. "I what?" "You've studied them, right? All 6 previous species. What was their biggest mistake?" Lyra conferred with the others. Finally, she spoke. They all believed they deserved to be trusted without earning that trust. They demanded equality without demonstrating peaceful intent. "Exactly," Minho said. "They asked the galaxy to gamble on their good nature. But why should you? You have millions of years of history showing what happens when Deathworlders gain power. So you accept quarantine?" A Krell voice asked. "No," Minho said. "I'm proposing a third path. Not quarantine, not oversight, but partnership. We don't ask you to trust us. We ask you to help us become trustworthy." The consortium representatives looked confused. "Explain," Lyra demanded. "Humans have something no previous Deathworld species had," Minho said. "We have self-awareness. We know what we are now. We know our weaknesses, our dangers, our patterns, and we're willing to do something about it." He brought up his proposal on screen. "We invite you to Earth, not as overseers or guards, but as partners. We'll establish mixed colonies, human and alien, living together, learning from each other. We'll open our educational systems to alien teachers who can help us raise a generation that thinks differently. We'll share our resources and technology freely, proving we can cooperate." "You're describing submission with a prettier name," Vel the Nether said. "No," Minho argued. "Submission means we have no choice. This is voluntary. We're choosing to limit ourselves because we recognize the danger we pose. But in exchange, we ask for something." "What?" Lyra asked. "A chance," Minho said simply. 10 years. If we can live peacefully alongside your species for 10 years, if we can prove that humans can be neighbors instead of conquerors, then you lift the restrictions gradually. If we fail, if we show the same patterns as the others, then we accept permanent quarantine. We'll lock ourselves away from the galaxy forever." The consortium representatives erupted in debate. Minho muted his side and looked at his crew. "That's your plan?" Yuna asked. "Gamble our entire future on 10 years? It's the only plan that respects both sides," Minho said. "They're not wrong to fear us, but we're not wrong to want a chance. This way, we prove ourselves or we accept the consequences." "What if we can't do it?" Dayun asked. "What if our biology is too strong?" "Then we'll learn that before we cause harm," Minho said. "And the galaxy will be safer for it." Lyra unmuted. "Captain, your proposal has created interesting discussion, but there are enormous practical problems. Where would these mixed colonies be established? Which species would participate? How would we handle the biological incompatibilities?" "On Earth," Minho said, and the words felt both terrifying and right. "We invite 3 species to establish settlements on Earth itself. Not just visiting, but living. We share our homeworld. If that doesn't prove our peaceful intent, nothing will." The consortium representatives fell silent. Sharing a homeworld was unprecedented. It was vulnerability, trust, and risk all combined. "You would allow aliens to live on Earth?" A Simin voice asked, disbelieving. "Your territorial species would accept this?" "I don't know," Minho admitted. "I can't speak for all of humanity. But I can speak for the crew of this ship, and we'll support it. We'll help make it happen. Because the alternative is either quarantine or extinction, and both of those mean giving up on who we could become." More debate. Minho waited, watching the consortium argue among themselves. Finally, Lyra spoke. We need time to consider this. It's unexpected. You gave us 48 hours to decide our fate, Minho said. We're giving you the same. If you refuse, we'll accept quarantine. But if you agree, we'll prove that humanity can be different. The transmission ended. Minho sat back, exhausted and uncertain. Did we just bet our entire species on an experiment? Siagen asked. Yes, Minho said, because it's the only bet worth making. The next 24 hours crawled by. The crew of the Taiguk Dawn transmitted the proposal to Earth, starting debates that would rage for months. Some humans were outraged at the idea of sharing Earth. Others saw it as humanity's only hope. The world divided, just as Minho had known it would. When Lyra's message finally came, Minho's hands shook as he opened it. Captain Minho, Lyra's image said, the Consortium Council has voted. Your proposal is accepted, with conditions. 3 species will establish settlements on Earth-Velens, Nether, and Simmons. Each settlement will house 10,000 individuals initially. They will have full rights to defend themselves if threatened. And if any act of organized violence occurs against them within the 10-year period, quarantine will be immediately enforced. Minho let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Furthermore, Lyra continued, you will return to Earth aboard your ship, but Consortium observers will accompany you. They will report on humanity's progress quarterly. This is not trust, Captain. This is a trial. Humanity is on probation. We understand, Minho said, and we're grateful for the chance. Lyra's skin shifted to a softer color. I hope you succeed, Captain. Truly, the galaxy would be richer with humanity in it if you can prove you deserve to be here. The transmission ended. Minho looked at his crew and saw hope on their faces for the first time in weeks. 6 months later, Minho stood on a hill overlooking the first mixed settlement. Velen architecture rose alongside human buildings. Nether crystalline structures gleamed next to earth gardens. Simon water dwellings integrated with human marina designs. It wasn't perfect. There were misunderstandings, conflicts, and challenges every day. Some humans protested the alien presence. Some aliens struggled with Earth's environment. But slowly, carefully, they were learning to live together. Yuna joined him on the hill. The first human Velen child was born yesterday, she said. The parents want to name her Hope. Minho smiled. That's on the nose. Maybe, Yuna said. But maybe we need obvious symbols right now. The galaxy is watching. Earth is watching. Everyone's waiting to see if we become the monsters or something new. And what do you think? Minho asked. Yuna looked at the settlement below, at humans and aliens working side by side, laughing together, building together. I think we're human. We'll make mistakes. We'll struggle. Our instincts will push us toward conflict. But we have something the previous species didn't. What's that? We know our enemy, Yuna said. It's not the aliens. It's not the galaxy. It's the worst parts of ourselves. And knowing that gives us a chance to fight it. Minho thought about the 6 species that had come before. They had all believed they could be different. They had all been wrong. But maybe, just maybe, the difference this time was that humanity knew they might be wrong too. That night, Minho transmitted a report to the Consortium. It was honest about the challenges, the conflicts, and the difficulties. But it also showed the successes humans and aliens sharing meals, teaching each other, protecting each other. Lyra responded with a single line. Day 1 of 3,650. Keep going. 3,650 days to prove humanity deserved its place among the stars. 3,650 days to break a pattern millions of years old. As Minho walked back to his quarters, he saw a human child playing with a young villain. They were building something together, communicating in a mix of languages and gestures. laughing when they made mistakes, for the first time since learning the truth about Deathworlders. Minho felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. Not certainty. Not confidence. Just hope, fragile and precious and worth protecting. Humanity's trial had begun. The galaxy watched, terrified and hopeful in equal measure, as the seventh Deathworld species attempted what no other had managed, to transcend their nature, not by denying it, but by consciously choosing to be something more. And in the end, maybe that choice was what separated humans from the others. Not strength or cunning or resilience, but the simple, powerful decision to change. The stars had never looked so close, and this time, Minho believed humanity might actually reach them without burning everything along the way. Time would tell. 3,650 days would tell. And humanity, for the first time in its violent history, was willing to wait and prove itself worthy of its dreams.